And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer.
Howdy folks, Darren back with you here at Cross Timbers Farm. Welcome to 8th Day Chronicles. Glad to have you with us on this beautiful early summer day. You can see behind me the main hay field has been cut. We have our tedder out. This hay in places in the main hay field super thick because of the delay in cutting it. We're almost 4 weeks behind schedule because of rain. A very rainy pattern we were in the late spring. This is our first week of sun. The forecast has a full week. First we've had since hay growing season, plumb back in like late March. We've had rain every other day, it seems like. We finally have a break. Yesterday evening we cut our hay. We cut this first, then we cut the test plot. It was right at dark when we got done. We didn't get to ted. We're going to ted today, possibly twice today. The test plot especially, that hay is so thick. We've got to get that hay spread out into the sun for proper dry down to reach from that 80% down to 60 as quick as possible. It's about 11 a.m. The sun's been on it all morning, so we're going to get this spread out as fast as we can so those stomatal openings on the pores of the leaves will remain open and keep our sugars and starches at the highest level we can. Get it really spread out to drop that 20%, first 20% of moisture as fast as possible. So we're getting ready to hook up our Rhino PT207 2-basket tedder. I've already went around the tedder and checked all the tines, the bolts, and the plate holding the tines on. They're all tight. Everything's good. I've checked the air pressure in the tires. They're good. All right, we're going to go step by step on how to set up this tedder. Attaching and setting up your tedder is very simple. It's one of the most simple attachments, implements you can hook up to your tractor. However, there's a few tips and tricks to use to correctly use a tedder. The last thing you want to do is, while you're tedding, have your tines too low to the ground and they start kicking dirt and ash content into your hay. That's the last thing you want is soil. Start taking your hay grasses and almost ripping them out by the roots out of your sod. You can do that with a tedder if you're not careful. Adjusting your height of your tines is the most critical part, and that's simple. Like I said, a tedder is one of the most simple things you're going to use. Okay, we're going to take you step by step on this, and I'm going to show you exactly how we hook it to our Kubota L3200. Okay, folks, one of the most critical things as far as our tractor goes, our drawbar. This is a drawbar model tedder, meaning it does not use your 3-point links. This tedder attaches directly to your drawbar. There are tedders that attach to a 3-point. I prefer the drawbar model for ease of use. However, a critical component, our drawbar measures 1 1/4 inches in thickness. Okay, if you look right here, the gap between these two tongue extensions that has the hole for our hitch pin, the gap between them is 2 1/4 inches. Okay, what happens if you hook this directly to this and drop your pin in when you're going along tedding? Okay, here's the drawbar attachment. Let me get up closer to the camera so you can understand what I'm saying. Okay, Here's your drawbar attachment, okay? Here's your actual drawbar, okay? That extra inch of space will allow while you're going along, tedding, and the bumps in your field, your tedder will start doing like this, bouncing on that drawbar. What that's doing is allowing your tedder, the tines, to also move up and down. They're not keeping a consistent height. This thing is just bouncing on that. This bouncing of your tongue of your tedder to your drawbar, this bouncing on there, will cause premature wear on your drawbar, premature wear on your tedder attachment especially. I've saw tedders before and other attachments to tractors that where the hitch pin has been down through them and it has worn this hole completely into an oblong shape where it's worn it. You want to keep this tight. So we have to put a spacer in here. We're going to put the drawbar up to it. Then we're going to get a spacer to put in between these, 1 inch, so this tedder, when it's attached to our tractor, is not back here just bouncing. The very first time I used this tedder, it didn't take me but about 1 lap around the hayfield to realize that I got to put some spacers in here. You could hear it just clang, 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 clang continuously, clanging on that drawbar. So after about literally 2-3 minutes of use, I stopped, brought it back to the barn, and started fitting spacers for it. So, it's very simple hookup. No use for your 3-point attachment here on your tractor for a drawbar model tedder. We are just going to pull this tedder up to our hose line up to keep the tedder raised as high as it can to where this bottom piece is all the way flush. We have something between them, and we'll go from there. Very simple hookup. Okay, folks, you can see the spacer we have right here. We have the top of our drawbar with the spacer here, our drawbar attachment for the tedder, I should say. Then we have a spacer, our drawbar, and then the bottom of the tongue. Then with our hitch pin in the very bottom. All right, we're hooked. That's all there are to it as far as your rear of your tractor, other than the PTO. All right, now we got to level out this tedder. You can see it's tilted back severely just from storage. So we're going to get it leveled, then we'll hook our PTO shaft. You can plainly see our tedder is tilted backwards. You want your tines, when these baskets are rotating, to skim the stubble. Do not let them go far enough down to dig into dirt. That's the last thing you want. But you don't want them so high you're just leaving hay that's not getting pushed. So here's our adjustment arm, and we're just going to start cranking this thing down. Right there, okay. Now we're just going to give this thing a turn. All right, we've still got a couple inches to go. All right, a little more. I'm gonna go about 2 turns at a time until I get close. All right, we're getting very close. Go 1 more turn. Okay, that's too low. Go back up 1 turn. All right, we're gonna try it right there. What we'll do is make one, not even probably a full pass. We're gonna keep a really close eye on this tedder to see if we're kicking up dirt. We may need to raise it. Just a hair, but that is very close. All right, let's get our PTO shaft hooked up. First, we're gonna grease the joints of our PTO shaft, give our tedder a quick squirt of grease in the baskets, and then we'll be ready. Beautiful sunshine, a good breeze blowing. We're gonna need this, especially for our test plot. That hay is so thick. We're gonna need the breeze and the sun to get that dried, plus our tedder. The tedder is ready to go. The PTO's been hooked up, everything's a shot of grease, all the tines checked. We're ready. We'll make maybe several hundred feet to test our tine height from the ground. The last thing we want to do is kick sod and dirt and ash material up into our hay. But it doesn't take long to see when you're tedding, you look back, that you're kicking the top layer of hay and you're leaving some hay. That's a sign you need to adjust down one turn. We will keep adjusting down a turn until we hit the perfect spot, or adjust up a turn depending on what we see in the first 100, 200 feet. So it's time to get started. So here we go, let's get to tedding.